Hey there, Meidas Canada viewers, resistors from all over the globe. Today is the anniversary of the election of the criminal from Mar-a-Lago. 1 year. Our world has been turned upside down in that time. Does it seem like a year? Does it seem like yesterday? Does it seem like forever? We're going to talk a bit about what has transpired, and I'm going to talk a bit about why I'm doing the work I'm doing, just so that you can orient you on why I've taken up the resistance call. I want to just start off with some of the great messages and support we've been receiving. This is from Rodney McDonald. Charlie, I'm really enjoying your content, and I'm about to embark on yet another continuing fight with cancer. I'm a former Canadian soldier and peacekeeper. I sailed with the Royal Canadian Navy, Stano Florent, that's the NATO maritime group, among other tours. I've always been a proud Canadian and always will be. We stand on guard for thee. And although I have served beside U.S. personnel, I have not always agreed with the way they conduct themselves in other countries. Keep up the good fight, and I will always support from the sidelines until I can stand up in front once again. Rodney, thank you for that message, and for the Meidas community, Meidas family, we're going to be saying our prayers for you so that you come through and we can get you back on the front lines of defending our country along with the rest of us. Liz Rock writes, I really appreciate your inclusion of English, French, and First Nations in the resistance. For once in my life, I feel we are together, strong and united. I still get shite for being Québécoise, but we are used to it. In general, I feel we respect each other more than ever. Merci de parler français aussi. Ça fait tellement plaisir d'entendre. Liz, je vous remercie pour le message. Pour moi, c'est très important de parler en français. Ma région, la région de la Nord-Ontario, la communauté franco-ontarienne est très forte. Et j'ai beaucoup de respect pour leur vitalité et leur détermination pour célébrer leur langue et leur culture. Pour moi, c'est une question de respect pour la langue française et aussi pour les valeurs canadiennes. So merci, madame, for that. Just saying that, you know, I come from Northern Ontario where there's a huge Francophone community, and I just love the culture. I know I make a lot of mistakes in grammar, but I think I make a lot of mistakes in grammar and English as well. But it's about respect, and it's about trying. That's all we got to do as Canadians. We just got to try. And we try harder, we are unbeatable. Here's from our friends who are holding the line for democracy south of the Mason-Dixon line. My wife and I were rooting for the Blue Jays. It was a great World Series from South Mississippi. Yeah, you know, Game 7, we lost. But yeah, it was a hell of a series. And thanks to everyone who supported the Jays and for everyone who watched. This is one, came from Manitoba. My dad and grandparents escaped the horrors of Stalin's post-World War II and managed to come to Canada for a new life. Growing up, my grandparents consistently told me how lucky we were to be here. Recently, my 13-year-old daughter joined the Air Cadets in our small Manitoba town. And this weekend, they were volunteering to sell poppies, and to see her in her uniform proudly representing our country and our democratic rights made me feel so proud. More of us need to remember. Well, thank you for that. Certainly, you know, one of the things in my years in Parliament, I really saw the role cadets played, particularly in working class communities, of getting kids trained up, giving them a sense of strength and identity, and giving them opportunities. So I'm glad that your daughter is enjoying her experience. And Colleen Pierce, you're inspiring, Charlie. Thanks for starting our day. Love from rural Wisconsin. Awesome, Wisconsin. What's the weather like there? The weather's great here today. It was feeling like winter was coming yesterday. Anyways, the other message I got was from John Stevens, a great old hard rock miner and union troublemaker from Northern Ontario who recognized, you might wonder what that bent up old sign in the back is. It says, no trespassing, Buffalo Anchorite mines. Yeah, the Buffalo Anchorite was one of the many gold mines on the back road in Timmins. And I used to have this hobby. When I knew they were going to tear down these big, beautiful, old industrial relics of the earlier years of mining, I would go in, self-invited, And I often took the signs because all this stuff was getting trashed. So before the buffalo anchorite head frame got torn down, I took the sign, and I'm going to admit it, you can come after me, whatever company had the property. I grabbed a pair of really good mucking boots that I still wear when I do my underground tours. I offer underground tours here in Cobalt in the summer. So if you're coming up to Cobalt and you want a tour of an underground mine, I sometimes do the tours. Okay, so where are we at? Day 365. Have you feel like you've lost your sense of time? Do you feel like you don't even know what's real anymore? I mean, this is one of the most powerful things about Project 2025 and the MAGA assault is how fast they moved. It's not surprising in a way, though, because if you look at the fascist playbook, it is very much in keeping with how fast Hitler moved in the first few months. I want to just, before I get into that, I just want to sort of mention about sort of my journey into the resistance. You know, I'd done 20 some years in Parliament. I was planning on retiring from it, playing with my band, helping out locally in our town with our little mining museum. And then the Trump election happened. And I remember that night knowing that we were going into a very dark place, that Trump 2024 wasn't Trump 2016, that he was some kind of beast that had been conjured out of the toxic Ouija board of the Proud Boys, the Boogaloo Boys, the oligarchs, the extreme right, and the haters. And I sort of felt that everything I knew about politics and democracy and trust in people had been sort of just suddenly washed away. So the morning after the election, I tell this in every resistance town hall I do. The morning after the election, I decided I wasn't even going to say anything. I was just going to stay in bed. I just did not know what to do. And I was in Ottawa, and my wife was in Northern Ontario, and she called me at 8 o'clock in the morning. She said, "You haven't posted anything yet. Why not?" And I said to her, I don't know what to say. And she said, "You say something. People are afraid. They're going to need a voice." And I think the very first thing I posted, because the only thing I could think of was Antonio Gramsci's line that he wrote hidden in a prison diary when he was being held by the fascists, was the line, "The old world is dying and a new world is struggling to be born. But now we're in the age of the monsters." And so I decided right then and there that, yeah, people needed a voice. And I didn't know if people were going to listen. I didn't think they would. I was just going to start speaking. But people began reaching out. And I thought it was really important to track what was coming because, again, there's the chaos that they want you to think, to make you feel alone and to feel isolated. It's a playbook, and the fascist playbook follows patterns. And I started to call it out. I set up the Charlie Angus Resistance Substack. We've had maybe 225 essays since I started it. I was writing every day in the first few months to try and root people and make them see what was happening. And some of the things I predicted started to come true. I mean, it only took 2 months for them to start kidnapping people off the streets, to deport them illegally without the rule of law. Well, if you can kidnap people off the streets, then why can't you just go into a judge's court like they did on month 3 and arrest the judge? Once you can arrest a judge, well, why not throw a senator on the ground and handcuff them like they did on month 4? And then that's when they began to build the concentration camps. And now they're using the military against their own people. This is the fascist playbook 101. And what do we see from the leaders? Well, we see certainly in the United States and in the MAGA movement around the world is this parade of grifters, cynics, criminals, political cretins who are laughing at us and thinking they can just loot our democracy. And on the other hand, we have our political pundits and leaders who are telling us to trust them. It'll work out and it'll go back to normal. And you know it's not going back to normal. And that's why you were watching Meidas Touch. And Meidas Touch started reaching out to me, and we decided, okay, we're gonna expand this movement. We're gonna start talking about this not just as a reaction against every single crazy thing that was being done by the MAGA and MAGA Maple movement, but we were gonna start to try and map out strategies. This is what we're doing at Meidas Canada. And, you know, in just The 2 months since we've started, we've had over 9 million views. We've got people from all over the world, and it's really, really important that we continue this conversation. This is what we're trying to do here, is to say we are not giving up any ground to these fascist gangsters. And we've talked a lot about the difference between the traditional fascists in the gray suits and the goose-stepping and the modern grifter fascists of Botox and baseball caps. But we're not going to give up any ground to them anymore. I've said it many times. People have asked me, what do you think's coming? What do you think's going to happen next? I don't know. But I do know what will happen if we don't act. If we don't start putting our bodies forward to stand up and to say no. I know that it'll get much worse. And I also know that it's a lot easier to stand up to fascists when they're just getting started than when they are entrenched. This is why the urgency of what we're doing with Meidas Canada. But do I feel optimistic? No, I don't. I got to be honest. But do I feel hopeful? I feel really hopeful right now because I'm seeing the goodness of people. You know, we launched the Meidas Canada town halls. We started on the east coast of Canada. We have traveled. We've been to the west coast of Canada. We're traveling community after community. In every single community I go to, I meet people who are determined, people who are proud, people who are taking back their democracy. This is, in some ways, a really exciting time. And the other thing I've really come to learn is that after being dumbed down by slogans and spin and living in a world of bot, rage, and disinformation where you don't even know if the person who's picking a fight with you on Facebook is real, that words matter. Ideas matter. Books matter. It's why we talk about books and ideas here on Thanks to the Resistance Library, is that people need to be rooted. They need to be rooted in ideas of resistance. They need to be rooted in their communities, and they need to be rooted with each other and to realize that you are not alone. We are not alone. We are the majority. We are in this together, and we are going to work together across the borders, across the jurisdictions, to bring back a sense of decency, a sense of fairness, and to take on this time of the world of monsters. So yeah, we may be in the age of monsters. That is the era we're coming in, that we are in, and there is no going back to the world it was before. But as Gramsci says, there's a new world struggling to be born, and it's our job, my fellow resistors, to help get that new world born and to put an end to the monsters. So friends, thank you so much for your support for the last year. If you've been following me, please support us on the Resistance Substack. We're really trying to push people, to encourage them. If they're free subscribers, please go to paid. It helps us do our work. We're a very small team. Please hit subscribe. We want to get well over 200,000 on the Meidas Canada network. If you want to help our global or our Canadian, if you want to help our Canadian tours, send a message to info@charlieangus.ca. In fact, hey, we just got a great check the other day from Arizona. You know who you are who sent that. It matters. It's going to get us on the road, and we're going to continue the fight for democracy. And we're going to be filming it and sharing it and including you in our campaign, because you, fellow resistors, are part of what makes this possible. So, Charlie Angus here. Keep kicking at the darkness, my friends. It's only been a year with Trump. Well, we're going to get rid of him. We're going to get rid of the rest of the extreme right, but we're going to do it together. So, thank you, merci, et miigwech.